It's an exciting day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast has just announced that they are going to do major bannings across multiple formats. This is going to hit key cards across multiple decks and create major shakeups.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because I have a hopeful installment of mega magic news for you guys. It looks like Wizards of the Coast is finally making the right moves when it's coming to the competitive environments and specifically paper Magic. Things have been languishing. In fact, if you looked at the last ban announcement that they made, they literally said, hey, we're not actually doing any kind of anything at all, so why don't you go and check out this announcement on Play Boosters? And we all just went, wait, this is an advertisement. This isn't even a ban and restricted announcement. This is an advertisement. Well, they have come right out and said, you know what? That was a huge mistake on our part in terms of scheduling, whatever it is. They kind of waved away the reason for it, but ultimately did own up to the fact that it was a huge mistake. And this time, instead of just giving us a little announcement, just a little article that says, hey, a ban's coming. They said, we're going to do a banning on December 4th. So this is upcoming Monday. And what we're about to do is do a deep dive into a bunch of different aspects, talking about different formats, what we care about, what our ban philosophy is. Honestly, there was a ton of information in here. Now, it's not 100% transparent. Obviously, it does contain some level of corporate, hey, we're not letting you know everything. But at the same time, it's a lot more information than we've seen in the past. And it's a lot better than the previous announcement where they said, hey, check out this ad spot for the play boosters. Or the one before it, where instead of actually focusing on the cards, they went, we're unbanning these cards. But the whole announcement was talking about the One Ring and Bowmasters and how they didn't really need to be banned. And it was kind of like, really? Really, guys? So in this case, instead of just doing that, they're like, okay, going forwards, we're going to come out, we're going to do these streams in advance, give you a week's notice, and obviously bans suck no matter when they happen. It's not a fun time to say you can't use your cards, but on the other hand, it also does help take the bad blood out of the format. So they are necessary. Getting this little precursor to let you know, hey, bans are coming, it's important because on like, what is it, the 17th of this month, there is a massive RC Magic event going on, right? So if you want to be a part of that, you need to know what's going on. And Wizards giving you at least a little bit of an announcement of, hey, we're going to do a banning, and explaining the philosophy behind it allows you time to make moves on, hey, what kind of a deck am I playing? They did signal very strongly that particular cards, they didn't say the name, hey, we're particularly nailing this card, but the signals were so strong that it's had such an effect on the market that people can't even sell some of these cards that might be banned anymore. Buy lists are going, oh, no, we're not touching that. Wizards pretty much screamed, we're banning it. So the bans fall into multiple categories. The one category we're definitely not talking about today is standard bans. That's going to be handled separately. So this is going to focus on Pioneer and Modern. Modern is the biggest one. Pioneer obviously is a newer format, and honestly, Wizards really hasn't had the opportunity to mess up Pioneer because we're going to talk about the modern bans that are coming and how they are essentially by Wizards' own design. In the past, bannings would usually kind of crop up as a mistake where Wizards like, you know what, we didn't intend to make cards that ended up pushing the envelope this much, but with the modern situation, we're going to see it's on purpose and it's recent stuff. So, Pioneer ban situation. We're going to be looking at a ban and an unbanning in the format, right? And theoretically, you could have multiple of each, but Wizards has made it very clear that Pioneer is going to be getting ban and unban action. So you have a couple of targets when it comes to Pioneer. The most clearly obvious target is Karn. The Karn deck, the Karn Insanity is coming to an end. That writing is pretty much on the wall. What happened is Wizards kind of wanted to hold back. The reason they didn't do anything in the previous announcement is they were like, fingers crossed, maybe things will get better. Who knows, right? But then Lost Caverns of Ixalan dropped and then went, oh, okay, we got us some problems. Things are getting uglier. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it has anything to do with decks that liked things like Cascade, and then they went, yo, remember Cascade? We made a beefed up version of Cascade that's even crazier. And it's like, ooh, this is the fixed version, is it? I don't know, guys. I don't know. So Karn is on the chopping block, right? He is an obvious choice. He allows for insane and complicated combo action that you might not understand when you hear it. If I was to explain it to you, you might be going, oh, okay, like I don't fully get it. But if you saw the action between the cards, you go, I do this here, I do this here, iterate and just keep doing it until I do this, right? Kind of setup. And then you'd understand it and go, okay, this is gross. Like once you've seen it in action, you understand it. Karn is really powerful. Geological Appraiser has also had a massive impact. And there's also Eldritch Evolution as well as something that allows you to get like the pieces that you need and things like that. So those are the three. I mean, obviously there's other targets as well, but those are the three that seem most likely. Karn seems like it's a slam dunk, right? Like Karn is most likely gone for sure. Yeah, you can't say for sure, but that's how I'm feeling on that one. Now, when it comes to the unbannings in Pioneer, it's an interesting mix because Pioneer has a really, really short ban list. There's only 25 candidates to begin with, but it is a rogues gallery of powerhouse nonsense, right? And there's no way that Wizards is going to be like, yo, we just decided fetch lands are legal in the format. So really, when you think about it, 25 cards goes down to, you got like less than 20. So when looking at the ones that are left, there's a bunch of powerhouse stuff kicking around. The least offensive candidates in terms of something that could slide back into Pioneer and might not make that much of a difference. Top of my list is Smuggler's Copter. When this card came out, I remember thinking, yo, the power level on this is bonkers. Also, I thought it was really hilarious that in Kaladesh, everybody flies around in airships except smugglers, which fly around in egg-shaped helicopters. And so you just go, well, I can just see those. I can see any helicopter has a smuggler in it. Just blow it up. If I was in charge of security for Kaladesh, there would be no more smuggling. You know what I'm saying? So Smuggler's Copter, it's powerful, but it's not insanely busted by today's standards. The way that Wizards prints cards now, the power level is so insane that I feel like part of the reason they do double-face cards now is because they want to put so much power on a card and it takes so many words they can't all fit it on one side. So Smuggler's Copter is totally, hey, you were super powerful 5 years ago. Nowadays, you're more, you know what, you're good. You'll make it in, but do you need to be banned anymore? So that's my top choice, right? Next up, you got Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer is a powerful answer that shuts down a bunch of stuff, but also is just that. It's just an answer. It's not an oppressive, like, I'm going to win in a turn or two kind of card. So it makes it on the list of possible things to return for its Zazzle. Whoa, we can veil it up again. It's a super strong hoser uncommon, right? And then you've got Walking Ballista. I'm on the fence about this one because it is, you know, obviously a very combo-tastic, goofy little guy, but at the same time, Karn was a great enabler for this guy. So if Karn is getting the boot from the format, then that increases the chances that you could go Walking Ballistic and walk on back in. Counters are back on the menu, boys. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a lower chance. For number one for me is Smuggler's Copter, right? So that covers Pioneer. Now, when it comes to Modern, we've been told for sure we're getting banning, but we don't know if we're getting unbanning action or not. It's kind of hinted at, but at the same time, not as sure as it was with the Pioneer. So when we're dealing with Modern, there are some real obvious choices. The number one choice is targeting Rakdos Scam and hitting either Grief or Fury. Now, I have to take a moment to appreciate the fact that everybody calls this deck Rakdos Scam except Wizards of the Coast. They don't want a deck with scam in the name, but it's hilarious. It's called scam because you can basically cheat things out super free. I ain't paying for that. I ain't paying for that. I'm scamming it. I'm scamming it. I'm scamming it. And it actually fundamentally speaks to one of the biggest problems with Magic design that led to this, and that is free casting and avoiding casting costs. So Fury and Grief are two of the exact same awful setup where you go, okay, this is a sweet creature that does something awesome when it comes into play, and I can evoke it out. Evoke is an ability we originally got in Lorwyn, and this is the most insane iteration of evoke you can come up with, where you just go, all you have to do is remove a card from your hand, and then you get to play this creature. Now, it will instantly be sacrificed. So the idea behind Evoke is supposed to be pay the full cost, get the full creature, or if you want to pay the Evoke cost, then instead you can use it like a one-shot effect. So Fury, for example, will let you do 4 damage divided any way you want among any number of creatures or planeswalkers, which is bonkers. This is like pyrokinesis plus, right? So when it comes out, you actually get a creature that does 4 damage across, or as an instant style effect, you can go, hey, I'm just going to remove this card from my hand. Boom, there we go. Or discard the card, pay the cost, and now I get to go ahead and play this for free and do 4 damage divided any way that I want. Now, casting costs are the balancing mechanic for Magic the Gathering. When you circumvent that, you have big problems. Almost always cards that need to be banned in Magic are because they somehow cheat the casting cost to power ratio. So what happens with these cards right here is people go, I'll evoke it and then play an instant that allows them to bring it right back from the graveyard. Hey, any creature that went to the graveyard this turn can come right back into play, sometimes with a +1/+1 counter. So you just go, oh, I'm going to evoke this guy out, get the effect, he comes back into play. So on the first turn, you can wipe out anything your opponent's done with Fury by killing any of their fast creatures if they manage to speed out, and have a Beef Boy on the board. Or you can stick with a Grief who lets you hit your opponent's hand. And the thing is, guys, when it comes back, it hits again. So if you evoke it out, then it goes to the graveyard, then that spell brings it back into play, you get the effect twice. So on the first turn, you can Grief your opponent twice and take their best answers to the insanity you're going to do. These cards are inherently broken, and there's no way that Wizards of the Coast didn't know that. They understand that casting costs are the fundamental balancing part of Magic, and they wanted these cards to make big waves in Modern. They were intentionally designed to do this. Fury is the most busted one, right? It's not just being used in Rakdos Scam, it's also being used in the crazy Beanstalk deck, where Beanstalk all by itself isn't a broken card. It's 1 green and 1 for an enchantment that says when it comes out, draw a card. Also, whenever you cast a spell that costs 5 or more, draw a card. Now that's fine when you're paying the normal casting costs for spells, but the idea is to just get all your spells for free. So all of a sudden, Beanstalk is just feeding cards into your hand, and you can keep doing it. So guess what Beanstalk uses? Oh, that's right, cards like Fury. So Fury is across multiple of these decks. And Wizards of the Coast stream was so clearly like screaming, we're getting rid of Fury, we're getting rid of Fury, that people started selling their Furies instantly. You can actually watch a downward trend on the sales chart of Furies as the day progressed, and then it gets to the point where bigger vendors were just like, take it off the buy list, take it off the buy list, we're not buying it, it's dead stock, this card is about to be gone. And yes, obviously the power level of Fury will still be something to contend with, but without Modern, like, it's so insane that on the first turn you can go, oh, I don't know, let's go Fury, let's go Grief. Oh, do I not have any of those bonker stuff? I guess I'll just pay a regular creature for 1 mana. What can I get for 1 mana in red? Oh, that's right, Ragavan. Like, bro, when I started, Savannah Line was 1 white mana as a rare for a 2/1 with no abilities. Now, I get that by today's standard. That is jank. You know, having some ability, sure. But Ragavan is so far on the other end of the scale. Ragavan, Grief, all of this stuff, Fury, they all come from Modern Horizons 2, a set specifically designed to force rotation into Modern. Wizards of the Coast comes along and they go, we're going to make these powerhouse cards you can't ignore, right? You couldn't. They're literally free. And they know how it works. They've been making cards for 30 years. They have a whole list of do's and don'ts. And when it comes time to try and juice cards and get our money, they walk over to the don't list and go, this is going to break the format, but put it in anyways. And they did try and say during the stream, you know what? We don't ever really like let the fact that cards are being sold or whatever like that still on sale affect whether we ban something. If we still have stuff for sale, we definitely are, we're still willing to ban it. And then like, look what we did with Oko. And it's like, Oko's a different beast. Oko completely broke standard and was like 80% of the meta. You literally had no choice. But with everything else, they always wait until it's out of the warehouses, right? Look at these Modern Horizon 2 bans. How long has Modern Horizons been around for? Like 2 years. We already got the Lord of the Rings to inject new stuff into Modern, and we have Modern Horizons 3 coming. And the last printing of Modern Horizons 2, if I'm not mistaken, was slated right for the end of this year. So as far as I'm concerned, this is exactly that. They finally sold all the product. They were willing to let Modern bleed for a while, and now they're like, well, get them reloaded. We can't have, like, I don't feel like Fury and Grief and all that are going to be removed from the environment to actually make Modern better. I feel like they're being removed to make room for the more broken nonsense that's coming in Modern Horizons 3. Because remember, Wizards of the Coast, they only switched back into giving us love towards physical events and all this kind of stuff in the last number of months. Before that, they were very much pushing away from it, shutting down coverage, all this kind of stuff over the last number of years. And we've just had this build back up, which means even if they fully acknowledge in their heart that they need to change what they're doing and move forward with better intentions, all the game design that's been done, it travels about a year and a half behind that. So if I go, I love you, I'm going to make our relationship work, it's still going to take a year and a half for my changes to flow through. Do you know what I mean? And that's the scenario we're looking at. So they did talk about the Bowmasters. They talked about the One Ring, but like, remember what they said, not the previous announcement, but the announcement before, which blew my mind. They were talking about the One Ring and how powerful it is and how many different decks that it goes into. That's actually another knock against Karn, by the way. Karn makes it real easy to get the One Ring. But anyways, you've got the One Ring situation where it's making its way into all these decks because it's an incredibly powerful card as it's meant to be. And Wizards of the Coast goes, you know what? Like, we know the One Ring is a problem, guys, but we're looking at the numbers and we're realizing the One Ring can go into even more decks. And it's like, every other time you've talked about a colorless card being a problem, like every ban announcement. You want the most recent one? Go look at like a Bank Buster announcement where they go, hey, you know what? We found out this colorless card is really strong and like everybody wants to use it. And when it's really strong and everybody wants to use it, it goes in like every deck. And when it goes in every deck, it decreases the diversity of the meta. So for that reason, we're banning X colorless card that's caused a problem. That's the entire history of Magic. So to have them say the exact opposite, we're like, look guys, we know this card is powerful. We know it's a problem, but, and hear me out, there's a bunch more decks it can go into. I'm like, I had to read it 3 times and go, do you hear yourself? Like, do you just put words down and go, someone will read it and won't actually process it and it doesn't matter? So the One Ring, them banning the One Ring would blow my mind. I can't see it happening. Maybe Bowmasters, because they realize they painted themselves into a corner. They might actually come out and ban Bowmasters while it's still in print, because Bowmasters takes care of so many creatures with 1 toughness that they literally said before, we're aware of the problems that Bowmasters cause. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start designing cards with higher toughness. That was their response. That's what they told us they were going to do. And maybe they sat down and went, wait, if we keep going this way, like, we're going to push the power creep to such a huge degree that they might actually technically go and ban Bowmaster. I don't know. Beanstalk might actually get the ban, even though it's not itself broken. It's too powerful with the broken cards, right? And so they might just go, oh, can we Band-Aid slap it? Although I feel like because Modern Horizons is like at the end of its run, this is when, hey guys, you know, we let this run for like a whole year, even though we hate the name Scam and it totally represents. The fact that they keep making free cards, like, there's no excuse for it, right? Like, look at Fires of Adventure from the first Eldraine. They just keep doing it, and that's not even the most recent example. It's funny to me that they keep coming out and be like, guys, we really learned our lesson. No, you didn't. You're gonna put your hand on the stove because you think there's $1 on it. That's how it goes. So we've got, like, it's almost guaranteed to be Fury, right? Fury is pretty much guaranteed to be banned. Grief has a very high likelihood of getting nailed too. The Bowmasters would be an interesting signal. The One Ring, I say no chance. And Beanstalk's got a pretty good chance getting kicked, just because it's so powerhouse that it adds fuel to the insane fire. And I'm guessing Wizards has more free cast nonsense going on, because all they seem to know how to do now is make spells cheaper and like more crammed with power. We're looking at the stuff that just came out in Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Me and one of my friends from back in the day were just scratching our heads going, the power level on these is insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like powerful cards in my queue, but to bring it all back, let's talk about Splinter Twin real quick, because this always comes up. Guys, they're not going to unban Splinter Twin. It actually came up in the stream where they're like, look, we know a lot of you like Splinter Twin. We know a bunch of you mentioned Splinter Twin. We're not bringing it back because more people hate it than love it. And it's true. While you may have fun going off with your Splinter Twin nonsense, way more people hate it. So it's just not going to happen. That's not happening. So overall, we've got a scenario where I very much appreciate that Wizards of the Coast going forwards is going to strongly signal to us we have a ban coming. And while not saying exactly what's being banned, because that's essentially giving the ban announcement as a surprise, it gives you a little bit of a chance to try and guess, all right, what's it going to be? They give actual information. So if they keep keep this up, that's going to be excellent. We've seen in the past where they told us they're going to tell us about card quality because we were complaining about card quality. They did 3 articles, then turned it into an ad service and disbanded it. And so they could turn around and stop. At the end of the day, the PR manager, Blake, is the guy who's in charge of a bunch of this. And he's the guy who's responsible for everything we've been seeing. And honestly, I don't really feel like he cares that much about Magic. So, or it's actually his job, really. He seems unhappy during the live streams. But regardless, hopefully lessons have been learned. Going forwards, we're going to have more transparency in terms of what's going to be banned in advance, at least somewhat, so you can plan accordingly for tournaments that you're going to. That's all I really have to say on the subject. I think that the bans are necessary. Wizards needs to keep a firm hand on the formats for people, and overall the cards that I talked about seem like the most likely candidates that we're going to be dealing with. Now, if you want to have some fun tonight, I'm doing an epic stream over on my other channel involving the old Magic the Gathering set Legends. That's from 1994. It's actually the first expansion I ever got to play with. Magic's 3rd expansion. So crazy. So what we're doing, it's called Stump Hatcher. You pick cards from the set, you say them to me in the live stream, and then I have to tell you what the card does. And then we bring it up on screen, take a look at it, and see if you have stumped me, right? It's actually a genuinely fun game. We've already done 3 installments for Alpha and Beta. We did Antiquities and Arabian Nights, not in that specific order. Those are all uploaded on the live stream. Oh, damn it. All right, the camera cut out. Those 3 live streams are up on my live stream archive if you want to check them out. We'll be doing it live tonight over on my other channel. Come and hang out. Big shout out to my patrons. Thanks for being here. I gotta plug my battery in, so I'm out. Peace out for now.